His name is Rob Hellmann, and Rob is the expert in LinkedIn, which is such an important tool, thing for you to have. It's sort of like your other resume. Rob is the president of his own company, Hellmann Career Consulting, and he has helped thousands of individuals to define and achieve their career and job search goals via his private coaching practice. He is a LinkedIn certified professional recruiter. Previously, he serves as a designated LinkedIn help forms expert and has partnered with LinkedIn in training their corporate clients. Rob has written the book, Advanced in LinkedIn for Your Job Search, Business and Career, which is now in its 5th edition and which I highly recommend. You can get it on Amazon. Rob's other publications include Peak Presentations and 3 chapters in Work Smart's Be a Winner in the Job. He has an active blog, which I read all the time, on his website, a career column in Forbes, and has been featured in many other media outlets, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Post, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and NBC News. And just to conclude, he's got 20 years of experience in management roles at the Federal Reserve Bank and New York, JP Morgan Chase, and American Express. So with that, he also works for the alumni at NYU. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob, and I'm just very thrilled to have him here. Thanks, Rob.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate the nice introduction. Hi, everybody. So, before a couple of quick notes before we dive into this. First off, I will be talking until about 12:45, 12:50, and then we'll take some questions. So you can type your questions in at any time in the chat feature, and we'll get to them at the end. So just keep that in mind. Also, I'm happy to share with you the slides. So if you want the slides, just go to this link, bit.ly/pace51121. You don't even need www in front of it. And just type this into your browser, and you'll fill out a quick form. It'll take you like 5 seconds, and then you can get the slides. Okay, so let's dive into the content. So first off, why LinkedIn? I mean, they're looking for you on LinkedIn. I mean, if for no other reason, I mean, there's many reasons to be on LinkedIn, but one of the main ones is, just about every HR person, recruiter, search firm, LinkedIn's like their first stop to source candidates. So I want you to be in a place where you can be found, where they're looking for you. Half of hiring managers are now using LinkedIn to source candidates. Even before they contact HR, before they contact a headhunter to advertise the job, they'll say, gee, I wonder, we're going to need somebody in a month. Who do I know? Who's in my network? They're going to go look on LinkedIn. I want you to be at the top of those search results when they search, and I want them to click on you, right? So that's another reason to be on LinkedIn. I mean, there are countless success stories. I mean, and there are lots of other reasons you want to use LinkedIn too. We're going to get into those. LinkedIn, I would recommend you use the free version of LinkedIn. There are paid versions of LinkedIn. Most of the time, you won't need those. There are a couple of exceptions. I mean, at most, maybe you could do a LinkedIn Job Seeker Premium or whatever they're calling it these days, and do 1 month free and then cancel it so you don't have to pay. So I don't think there's a lot of reason to do the paid one. Everything I'm going to show you today is based on the free LinkedIn. Now, I know there's probably some people who are very well versed in LinkedIn on the call, but I just want to make level set a little bit, just in case there are people who don't quite get LinkedIn, who aren't really on it. So bear with me, those who know this stuff already. But the way LinkedIn works is you have your first degree connections, people who are directly connected to you because you sent in an invite and they've accepted, or they sent an invite and you've accepted, right? Those first degree connections have their own first degree connections. Those are your second degree connections, and they can introduce you, right? And those second degree connections have their own first degree connections as well. Those are your third degree. So if you look at this example, like where there's like initially 381 connections, those 381 connections actually give you access to over 5 million people. But if you include LinkedIn groups, if you join a LinkedIn group, you can message anybody in a group that you share on LinkedIn. You can write them a whole long, essentially, letter through LinkedIn So that expands your access much, much further. So you can get millions of people, you can get on the radars of millions of people through just a few hundred connections on LinkedIn. Okay, that's the idea behind this. So people say, well, what do you use LinkedIn for, Rob? What is it, networking? And, well, there's one word that really encapsulates what you can use LinkedIn for, and that's everything. I mean, LinkedIn is like the grease in the wheel. So what I do in my practice, I'm a LinkedIn expert, but that's only because I'm a career coach first. I help people with all aspects of their job search and reaching their career goals. And I found that LinkedIn just makes everything easier. It's like the grease in the wheels. And that's why I became an expert, because I saw how helpful it was for clients. I was like, I have to learn this so I can show my other clients how great this is and how to use it. So what I mean by everything is, for example, the hidden job market. If you may have heard that term, where you're going beyond the postings in the search firms and reaching out directly, right? So that means reaching out cold or getting introductions through networking. You got to find the right people to connect with and connect with them. LinkedIn makes it so easy to find the right people. Also, applying. LinkedIn has a great job board. You can even see, who at the company you're connected to when you're applying to a job posting. Showing off and being found. LinkedIn, you have your profile, which is a more low-key way of showing your value and your skills, and your resume, which says, please hire me, right? Your resume is all about, hey, I'm looking for a job. You know anything? Or can you help me? This is just more low-key. Maybe if you want to just get an informational meeting, even if there isn't an opening, or if you're not sure, send them your profile instead if you have a good profile. Being found, we talked about that already. Research and learning, and even building a following or business. If your audience is on LinkedIn, your target audience for your business, you want to be on LinkedIn as well and using it like I do, right, for my business. Now, this might seem obvious, but the reason I lay it out this way, some people try to use LinkedIn and they're not set up properly, and then they get frustrated with it, right? So you really want to get set up properly first to get the most out of LinkedIn. So most of what we're going to be talking about today is getting set up, because we only have so much time. I could talk all day about LinkedIn, but we only have an hour and even less than that. So we're going to shortcut it. I want to give you sort of the key elements of getting set up, and we'll talk a little bit about using it. So when I talk about getting set up, what I'm talking about here, oops, how do I get all the way over here? Oh my God, you just saw a preview of everything, right? All right, so there we go. Sorry about that. So let's talk about this. Getting set up, what I'm talking about here is these things in blue. Writing your profile, building your network strategically, and joining groups. And you want to write your profile first, because there's only one chance to make a great first impression. So do your profile, okay, then build your network and join the groups. And you notice I have these things like an olive, restrict access and open up access. What that means is LinkedIn, if you don't change the setting, is going to send a notification out to your network that you've posted a new job, or you have a new headline, or a new profile picture, or something like that. You don't necessarily want that if you're making a lot of changes on your profile, for a couple of reasons. First off, it looks unprofessional, because you might be sending, all of a sudden, like, you're making a lot of changes on your profile, and like in one day, your network gets 5 notices that you're, improving your profile, right? It doesn't look good. Secondly, you might be connected to your boss or to your colleagues, and they'll be like, what are you doing on LinkedIn? What's all these notices? Are you looking for a job or something? Like, you may not want to alert them, right? So the best thing to do if you're making a lot of changes on LinkedIn is to restrict access, to not have it notified your network. And then once your profile is done, put that thing back on again. So when you make occasional updates, LinkedIn will notify your network, because it's a nice sort of way of keeping in touch. So the way you restrict access is, just to show you on LinkedIn, you just go to it here. All right. So if I was going to go click under me, right, under the me icon here, settings and privacy, right, click under settings and privacy. By the way, while we're here, the help feature is very good too. If you're trying to figure out what button to press to, like, remove a connection or block a connection or close an account or whatever, just click on the help feature, right? But click on settings and privacy here. And then you're going to go to this screen and you click on visibility. And under visibility, there are a couple things I want to show you while we're here. Right, so if you scroll down, you'll see share profile updates with your network, change that to no, okay? While we're here, let me just show you one other thing you want to do. Edit your public profile, also in visibility, but near the top. go to edit your public profile, right? And what you're going to see is a couple of things. One is you can edit the URL. This is the thing you might want to put in your resume, in your emails, in your cover letters, like to help people your profile. Now, when you first get on LinkedIn, they've got a bunch of letters and numbers. You can edit that. You can click on the pencil icon and just make it your name. Or if your name is take it, make it your name with a number at the end, or put a dash in the middle, but not like, make it more user-friendly, right? So edit that. The second thing is you want to be found, right? We talked about this already. So make yourself as visible as possible. I would, turn your profile visibility on, make it public, make all this stuff on, to make it all green. Okay, so you can be found, so people can see you. All right, so just a couple of things there. Now, let's talk about your profile. What I want to talk about first is how to adapt your resume to your profile. So when I work with clients, we did that. All right, when I work with clients, we'll create a resume usually first, and then we'll figure out, well, should we just copy and paste the resume verbiage right over to LinkedIn? And most of the time, the answer is yes, or much of the time. And that's good because the resume and the profile have a lot in common. I mean, on the resume, you want concise, accomplishment-oriented bullets. Same thing with your LinkedIn profile. You want a very targeted resume to a specific audience. Same thing with your LinkedIn profile. You want a powerful summary section that's going to pitch you. Same thing with your LinkedIn profile in the About section, right? So you don't want to just have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, that repetition is good. It helps cement your value proposition to whoever's reading your resume and your profile. So you want to try and repeat it whenever possible. But the key words here are whenever possible, because they are different in a lot of ways as well. So sometimes it just doesn't make sense to copy and paste from your resume into your profile. So here are the exceptions. I want to talk about the things you want to consider that might make you want to change your profile so it's different from your resume. So the first thing is that you can and should have different resumes for different job targets. With LinkedIn, you can only have one profile, one account. If you have multiple accounts on LinkedIn, close them. If you don't do that, it's going to ruin the power of LinkedIn to help you. You're going to split up your network. You're going to make it confusing. Trust me in this. You don't want to do it. So you can just have one account, one profile. So what does that mean? Do you go broader with your profile to encompass multiple job targets? Well, that's good in the sense that you won't rule out any job targets. But on the other hand, you are watering down your message for any one of those job targets, right? That's the pro and con. Well, what if you focus on just one of the job targets? Well, if you do that, then you'll still have a really powerful profile for that one job target, but then you're leaving out being found or making a good impression for those other job targets. So there is no one right answer. There are pros and cons to both strategies, and I would need to have a conversation with you to figure out what makes most sense for you, okay? But just keep in mind that these are the trade-offs, okay, with LinkedIn. It's the nature of LinkedIn versus resumes, okay? You got to make that decision, broader or narrower, pros and cons of both. Now, another difference is just a handful of people are going to see your resume. Like 100,000 people can see your profile. So do you need to change your resume when you're adapting it to your profile because so many more people can see what you put there? Most of the time, no. Sometimes, yes. So what I mean by sometimes yes is sometimes you're putting something in your resume that if it's so public and visible in your profile, it's just not appropriate. Maybe there's something that's a little proprietary, or someone would say, hey, it's just not appropriate. You shouldn't have put that revenue number on there. Well, then what do? Well, maybe you change it to a percentage. That's what a lot of people in financial services do. They'll change the dollar amount, like instead of 30, increase revenue by 37 million, they'll say increase revenue by 15%. You could do that. You could also, if you don't even feel comfortable doing that, you could say substantially increased revenue. Try to keep the sense of accomplishment in your profile. You want that in your resume, and you really want it in your profile too. And you want it in your pitch when you talk to people, right? You always want to show not just what you did, but how well you did it. Like put that differentiator into your marketing, right? And when I say marketing, this is a bigger thing than LinkedIn, but you really want to think about this as all sales and marketing, okay? When you're in a job search, you're not a project manager anymore, or a business analyst, or a chief marketing officer, or a creative director. You are now sales, the best salesperson in the world for yourself and the best marketer in the world, right? That's the mentality here. So you'll be hearing me use terms like sales and marketing because that's what a job search is. So try to keep those accomplishments in your profile whenever you can, okay? Another difference is LinkedIn profile, it doesn't mean you're looking for a job. So do you say you're looking for a job on LinkedIn? Do you indicate you're open to the next great or next exciting challenge or the next great opportunity? Do you put that in your profile? No, you don't want to do that. With a couple of exceptions we'll get to in a couple of minutes. The reason you don't want to do that is because first off, they're going to contact you anyway. You don't need to indicate that you're looking. Anybody who's using LinkedIn to source candidates knows to reach out to you. In fact, they may be even more likely to contact you if you don't advertise that you're actively looking for a job, because there's a well-known studied bias against people who are actively looking or unemployed. If there have been test control studies of this, I've trained a lot of recruiters on this, on LinkedIn, on how to use LinkedIn, and they tell me they have a preference for what they call passive candidates, people who don't look like they're actively looking versus the active candidates who do look like they're actively looking. They prefer it. It's sort of like playing hard to get. It's not right, it's not fair, and it's not a big deal really if you're in that situation where you're actively looking and unemployed. You can overcome this, but just don't throw it in their face. You don't need to advertise it, okay? Since they're going to contact you anyway. And lastly, you'll get the wrong kind of attention. You're going to get people reaching out to you if you say you're looking that are going to drive you nuts. Like all these headhunters, these search firms that aren't good search firms, and they're going to try to connect with you, and you don't want to connect with them. The connection comes after there's a relationship, not before a relationship. Okay, if some headhunter, some search firm connect with you without you don't even know who they are, I would never accept that connection request. That means that they don't know what they're doing, and they could even hurt your candidacy. That's a longer conversation, but just leave it at that for now. Okay. Now here's an exception. This new open to work feature on LinkedIn. So if you go to your add profile section on LinkedIn looking for a new job, or even if you go, just go into my profile, you can see it says open to. You can click on that, open to, and it'll say, what are you open to? You open to work, doing whatever. You've got two choices. You can show you're open to work to recruiters only or to all LinkedIn members. Now, you definitely want to check off recruiters only. You don't want to check off all LinkedIn members. Let me talk about this. When you check off recruiters only a small subset of recruiters know you have this checked off. These are the recruiters that have access to the very expensive several $1,000s a year LinkedIn recruiter package. And if they're using the field, this open to work field, to do searches for candidates, then you want to be found in their searches. It's as simple as that. So check it off. Okay. Now, if you put all LinkedIn members, if you check that off, it puts this little graphic around your picture. You see, it puts this little open to work graphic here. You don't want it for all the reasons we just discussed. It's going to turn people off and it's not going to help you. It's as simple as that. If you want to read more about this, I wrote a whole blog post on it. You go to my website and just look for this: job seekers, be careful using LinkedIn's new open to work feature. I go into this in detail. Okay, it's one of my more recent blog posts, so you can find it there. Okay, so another exception is you go into the settings and you can find this: signal your interest to recruiters at companies you have created job alerts for. So when you can go up to, and you should all do this, right? If you click, I'm not going to go through it now, but if you click on jobs up here, you can do a search for job postings, and then you could save it. You could save the search alert, right? You could save it. I'll just show you right here, right? So if I do this and I click here, and then I just click just to do anything, do some kind of a search, and I'm happy with the search, and if it's a company search, if I type in certain companies I'm interested in, then I turn this job alert indicator on. This means that I'll get an email every time a new posting meets the criteria, so that way you don't have to keep looking at this. If you saved certain companies for this search alert, then you will also, if you check off that setting I'm talking about in the slides, right, you will tell recruiters at those companies that you have created those job alerts if they have the LinkedIn Recruiter application. So it's, again, only a small set of recruiters. Okay. Another difference between LinkedIn and your resume is that LinkedIn is social media and resumes are old-fashioned media. So what does that mean? Well, with social media, it's about building relationships, right? That's what social media is about. Not so much with resume. Resume is not so much building relationships. It's about, here's how I can help you. Let's have an interview. So if it's about building relationships, what does that mean? You can use the same language as the resume. You could say with the action verbs, created this, led that, or on social media, on LinkedIn, you can say, I created this, I created that. Make it more personal. What you don't ever want to do is use the third person. She created it, Robert Hellmann created this, Robert Hellmann led that. You never want to do that because it just feels like you don't get social media, you don't get LinkedIn, you're not current, and it discourages people from building a relationship with you because it's off-putting, like it's too formal, okay? So you don't want to do that. All right, so those are the key differences. Now let's just talk about some things that are just on your profile that aren't in resumes that can really enhance your presentation, right? One thing you should do is get recommendations, okay? Now you don't need 12 or however many I have, on my LinkedIn profile. Just get, I would challenge you all to get at least 3 recommendations, and the recommendations show up on your profile. If you go to, I'm scrolling down my profile here, and it's, hold on. There, it's right under the skills and endorsement section, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Recommendations, right? You want to get good recommendations. And because they mean something. Like people can click on this guy, Vaughn, or this woman, Christine, to see who they are. They can see their title, that these people put their reputation on the line to recommend you. So it looks good. So you don't have to stop the presses to do this. But over time, I would challenge you to get at least 3 and give recommendations too, because first off, it's a nice way to live, you're giving, not just getting. And it also looks good that you gave recommendations as well, okay? So now let's go back. While we're here, I want to mention this thing, skills section. It says skills and endorsements, right? So you want to have skills listed in here because it can help you to be found for searches, right? And I have all these skills listed, okay? And you can do up to 50, so try to fill all 50 slots, okay? But because it'll only help you, this is one place to do keyword stuffing because it'll help you to be found. But these endorsements don't mean anything. It's a poorly implemented feature. I've heard LinkedIn even admit that because it's just too easy to click on the endorse button. It doesn't mean anything for, these 99 plus people who endorse me for executive coaching, most of them have no idea if I'm good at it. They just, all it says is I'm good at getting endorsements, or these people at least didn't dislike me who endorsed me. That's what it says. So it doesn't mean I'm good at these things. Everybody knows it. It doesn't matter. Don't worry. I don't want you to waste your precious job search time trying to get endorsements. Focus on the recommendations. Focus on the recommendations. Okay. So let's go back to how to be found. All right. As I started to talk about with the skills section, it's about the keywords. When people are doing searches saying, boy, we need to hire, a financial analyst, they're going to think about, well, they're going to do searches. They're going to type something in to find people in their network who they might want to talk to about that role. And so the words they type in, if you don't have them in your profile, you're not going to show up in those searches. It's as simple as that. Closely related to keywords is profile completeness. The more complete your profile is, the more opportunities you have to put in keywords that can help you to be found for searches. Plus, you have more opportunities to make a great impression when people look at your profile. So try to have as complete a profile as possible, okay? Click on the Add New Profile section button and try to add new profile sections. Now, what I would do is, let's go through this, right? I'm gonna share with you this checklist. When you go to click on that link, right? You'll see a much longer checklist that has these and a bunch of other things. Like you want to have a great picture, a completed profile, keyword-rich headline, all this stuff. We're going to go through this stuff right now. But anyway, again, for people who came late, here's the link to get the slides. You can just type this into your browser, bit.ly/pace51121. You can click on this, type it in at any time. And you can get the slides. And yeah, that's it. So just so you know, and you also get this LinkedIn profile checklist that I just started to share with you. Now, how do you figure out what the right profile keywords are for you? Like, what should you be putting in your profile so can be found? Well, the first thing I would be thinking about is the search strings that your audience might be using. So let's just try this out, okay? Let's go to LinkedIn. And I'm just going to do a search, right? Let's type in, say I said financial analyst, right? Let's just go with that for a minute, right? Say you're a financial analyst, you want to look for financial analyst positions, and you want to be found for financial analyst positions. And so you're thinking to yourself, well, what would they type in if they were looking for a financial analyst? What would a hiring manager type in? What would a CFO type in, or a VP of finance type in? Well, maybe they would type financial analyst, right? I'm just guessing here, but maybe that would be the thing. Maybe they would type other things. I don't know, but let's just do a quick search. I'm going to press enter. And then we're going to click on people to do a people search. I mean, they do much more sophisticated searches than this, right? This is just a quick and dirty thing. And they're going to get a much narrower or tighter thing than a million results, right? But let's just look at who comes up in these million results. Who comes up at the top? At the top, people with the words financial analyst in their headline, in their current job title, in their summary section, their about section. Like, you see how important these words are to you showing up at the top of these search results, right? So that's what I wanted to show you here, right? It's really important you have these keywords in there, or you're not going to show up on the top, right? So even if and I want you to show up on top. Now, even if you show up on top, they have to click on you. So what's going to help them click on you? Well, first of all, if you don't have a picture, you can see everybody has a picture here. If you're the only one that doesn't, or it's not visible, you're like, what are you hiding? What's wrong with you? You're not social, you don't like building relationships, you're not going to get clicked on, okay? So you need to have a picture. What's the best picture? Well, remember, this is about building relationships, right? So you want to encourage people to say, hey, let's talk. That's the spirit of your picture. Like, you want to encourage them to reach out to you. So you want to project out, like, hey, let's have a business conversation image, right? So this person, Kaylin, you can barely see his face, right? You want to get a picture where you can see your eyes, or you're smiling like this. Ebenezer, this is a good picture. He's smiling, he's looking right at the camera, he's looking at you. You can see his eyes. Jorik, even better, because his face is even closer, right? You can really, it's like, let's build a relationship. Let's talk. That's what it's about, right? Not so great here where Natalia is looking off to the side. She's not looking right at the camera. It's subconsciously saying, maybe I'm a little shy. I don't like to talk so much, right? You don't want to project that, okay? So that's the kind of picture you want. It's something professional, okay? So let's talk more. Let's go back. Oops, sorry. And let's go back to the profile now. Hold on. Okay. So that's the search strings, right? Also, look at the profiles, like in that search we just did. Look at some of the profiles that came up at the top. Maybe you might get some ideas by looking at the words they have in their profile for putting things into your profile. So look at those profiles. Sometimes people have very incomplete profiles. They won't be of help to you, but very often it can be very useful. So that's another thing you should do. Also, check out job postings. So I'd be looking at the postings not just to apply or not to apply, but to see if there are, what the words and phrases are that they're using, because you just want to give it right back to them. So go look at the LinkedIn postings, see what the words and phrases are, and then make sure they're in your profile and in your resume for that matter, right? Then just do other research. Look at LinkedIn company pages or websites of your target organizations, follow thought leaders or journals in your sector. You get the idea, right? Do stuff like that to figure out the profile keywords. Now, while keywords matter everywhere, I want to focus on these 4 areas because they're often overlooked: the headline, the skills section, the job title, and the company name. But we're going to talk about more than that. Let's talk about the headline first. The headline is a thing that's at the very top, right by your picture. We saw it when we did the search. And what you want to do is craft a keyword-rich beginning of your pitch. Remember when we did that search and there were 1 million results, the people who came at the top had financial analyst in their headlines. They all did, right? So you need to have that in there. So when I was crafting the headline for this human resources professional, I said, well, what do you think they'd be typing in to find you? And she said, well, they probably type in human resources. Or I said, what do you think they'd be typing in to find people for the open role that you're interested in? the kind of roles you're interested in. She said, well, they type in probably human resources and maybe business partner. So I said, all right, well, we better put in human resources business partner. I said, what else? She said, well, maybe they'll type in strategy, performance management, talent acquisition, total rewards. That's how we got all this, right? Same thing with this healthcare CFO. Same thing. Came up with it that way. And the way I would think about it is the left, everything to the left of this vertical line is like what box you're in the org chart, like how to categorize you. Everything to the right of this vertical line is more detail, okay? More detail. And the differentiators. So I would do this in Word because you can count the characters. There's only so many characters you can put into these headlines. I think it's 260 characters now. That's the limit. They keep changing it. They've changed it twice in the last few months. So it's limited. So you can count the characters. You can also include these like symbols, like these big fat bullets or these smaller bullets if you want, or diamonds or whatever, to make it look better than commas, for example. You can copy and paste them right from Word to get them into LinkedIn. You can't put them natively in LinkedIn. Okay, other things you want to pay attention. And just if you look at my profile, you'll see that's what I did up here, right? This is my headline. It's got all the words in here. They're going to help me to be found for opportunities. You know, I want to be found for career coaching, for job search stuff, for outplacement, for presentations and pitches coaching, all that, right? So that's how I'm doing the same stuff I'm telling you to do, okay? Then let's talk about the title and company. Now, this is really important. You want to make sure you have a company name that LinkedIn recognizes, and you want to add keywords to the job title. So for example, like I'll just go to it on my profile. Let me just scroll down. So when I taught at NYU, I could have just said adjunct instructor, okay? But instead I added some other descriptive words, what I was teaching, because these words are keyword rich. They can help me to be found for searches. If someone's looking for career help or career coach, like they're in here. And the titles matter a lot in search results and showing up in those searches. So I added these descriptors. And by the way, you can do this in your resume too, but it's even more important in LinkedIn because it's all this search engine optimization on LinkedIn. The other thing you should do is make sure that you get the logo in here, right? If you get the logo in here, not only does it look good, but even more importantly, what this means is LinkedIn says, oh, that university. I know a bunch of people who on LinkedIn is saying this to this computer, make it sound like a person, but LinkedIn is saying that, oh, there are a whole bunch of other people on LinkedIn that also worked at NYU. I'm going to suggest you to them, and I'm going to suggest them to you. So it helps you to be found and to find people, okay? So make sure when you're selecting the company, like if I'm going to click this, if I was going to do this from scratch, right? And is it happening? I think it's taking too long. That's weird. Oh, there we go. So I could have picked I could have said, I don't want to write New York University this way. I prefer it spelled NY University. LinkedIn has no idea what that is, right? Pick one of the things it's selecting, okay, to get the logo in there and to get the benefit of the introductions that you can get, right? Okay. Let me just cancel. Let me just cancel this all. Hold on. Okay. So, all right. Now, if you don't have a current job, try to fill in a gap, put something in there. Because some recruiters who have access to that LinkedIn recruiter application I was talking to you about before, they can search under current job title. And so I want you to be found for those opportunities, but also it looks good, right? Look, if you can't fill in the gap, you can't. Maybe you've been out of work for a long time. There's just nothing to say, okay? But try. Very often, if you've done consulting even for free, that becomes work experience. Same thing, volunteer. If it's something that's relevant to your job target, to what you're trying to get, you don't have to put it just in the volunteer section. Put it at the top of the experience section. Sometimes you can use, if you're taking classes, put that in there as a job, continuing education. That's like your job title or something. And list even the courses and make it just to fill that gap and put some keywords in there that can help you to be found. All right. So other thing, we talked about the skills, right? Used all 50 skill slots because it can help you to be found. You want to be as complete as possible. You want to be an all-star. Let me just show you what that means, right? So you'll see if I scroll down here to my dashboard, it says all-star. It goes from beginner to all-star. But even if it says all-star, it still, there could be more that you need to do. Okay, it's not enough. Okay, now, and so don't forget, something people forget too much is, if you, I'm scrolling down here, is the about section. Okay, make sure you put that in. This is like, if you do the summary section of your resume right, you can adapt it and bring it over, maybe not 100%, but to a large extent right into LinkedIn. Okay, the only thing you can do on LinkedIn maybe that's different than your resume for the about section is maybe personalize it. You might say something like, maybe I didn't do this, but you can do it. And it might make sense depending on the job, right? I take great pride in helping my clients or something like that. You can bring that in, okay? Whatever makes sense, whatever's going to interest your audience is what you want to do. So other things, all right, we discussed this. Now I want to talk about, so that's your profile. Now I want to talk about your networking strategy, because once you have a profile, you want to really expand your network, because as soon as you start reaching out to people to connect with them, they're going to look at your profile. So there are some people on LinkedIn who say, oh, you should connect with the whole world, connect with everybody. They have thousands and tens of thousands of connections on LinkedIn. There's even a name for those people. They're called LinkedIn Lions. And now you don't want to be a LinkedIn Lion. You don't want to be one of them, because it's just a bunch of strangers. It's ruining the power of LinkedIn to help you. If you just have a network of tens of thousands of strangers, what all that can do is help you be a giant billboard for your services. So occasionally it'll make sense. But if you're trying to really network, and this is bigger than LinkedIn, the essence of networking is building relationships over time, keeping in touch with people so you'll be open to helping them and they'll be open to helping you. So especially in a job search, you want a quality network. Now, quantity is important. I mean, connect with 1 billion people because it'll help you be found and find people, but try to know every one of those 1 billion people. Put quality first. Also, when you do searches to try to find people, if you have just a bunch of strangers, when you try to search for people you might know at a certain company on LinkedIn, you're just going to find all these strangers and it won't mean anything. It won't be helpful to you. You want the people to come up at the top of those search results to be people who might be able to introduce you or who you might know at the firms, not strangers, okay? And also, just to jump ahead too, if you go to, I'll just go to it really quick. If you click on home, you've got the home page feed, right? And these people, I know these people, because I have a quality network. So it matters, like when they post things, I might share them, I might like them, I might comment on. It's a way of keeping in touch, which is the essence of networking. And people have gotten opportunities through keeping in touch in their homepage feed, through what they see show up or what they post. So a quality connection means that you know them in some way and you're opening to helping them, maybe. Or they sent you an invite and you don't know who they are, but you're like, you know what? Maybe I want to work for their company, or there's something impressive about them. Maybe we can help each other in our careers down the road. So what do? Then what I would do is maybe then you accept their connection request. If you don't know them and you don't care to connect with them, just ignore it, right? Just don't have to do anything. You don't have to press a button, just totally ignore it. But if you're like, let me accept this request to connect because they look interesting. Maybe I can work for their company. Then send them a message, build a relationship. Don't make it a stranger. Ask why they're reaching out. Like something like this. Hi, Julie, I appreciate your request to connect, just accepted. As I like to tell everybody in my first degree network, I'm curious as to how you came across my profile and or why you decided to reach out, okay? So send this a message like this. If they don't respond or they give you a lame response, then remove them as a connection. They'll never help you, okay? But if they do, now you have a new business friend. I've gotten business this way. Clients have gotten opportunities this way. Make sure you take that extra step. If you've already connected to a bunch of strangers in your network, and you've had them on your network for a long time, and you have no idea who they are, reach out to them now and say, hi, I notice we're first degree connections on LinkedIn. How are things going over there at your company? I'm trying to get to know everybody in my first degree network. Try to make friends with them. If they don't respond as a connection, they'll never know, by the way. They don't get a notification. The only way they'll know is if they're looking to see if they're still connected to you. All right. So, all right, we So you can ignore unwanted requests. Always try to include a personal message. This is about building relationships. If you're reaching out to connect to somebody, don't just say, I give the standard, I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn message. Personalize it. Okay, remove connections if it's a bunch of people you don't know. Build your network quickly. If you're new to LinkedIn or if you don't have many connections, like the minimum you really should have on LinkedIn that's gonna, so you can use LinkedIn at all, is like 100. I mean, if you have less than 100, you're not gonna be found, you're not gonna be able to find people. I say 100 is the minimum. I would challenge you to all get at least 200 or even more, but quality first, then quantity, right? And how do you get to 200? Well, you can import your address book. Think about this people you may know feature, which I'm going to show you, and think broadly about your network, which is something you should do even outside of LinkedIn. It's not just the 5 people you talk with every day, every week. It's like people you haven't worked with in 18 years or 20 years, but you didn't dislike them and they didn't dislike you. You know, it's your family, it's your friends, it's your dentist, it's your neighbor. I mean, this is a whole other webinar about networking, you know? So anyway, just how to import your address book in this people you may know feature. If you go up to my network, click here, and you can see, you'll see that there's a, when it comes up, that is, you'll see that there's an opportunity, you'll say people you may know in X. And it's going to suggest people you may know. For some reason, it's not going there right now, but I guess it will eventually when LinkedIn decides to work. Try clicking on it again. I don't know. Anyway, you'll see it. And the other thing is on the left side, it'll say, when you click on my network, you know, build your network or, you know, or other or more options. Click on that and you can import your entire address book. And you can see who you wanted to send an invite to. Okay, so here's the people, the other, where you can import your address book is right here under continue or more options. If you scroll down here, people you may know, look at these, okay, and see if there's anyone that you can connect with. LinkedIn suggests people based on what's in your profile. Okay, now I'm going to talk very briefly. I mean, I could talk for hours about this, but just in the last few minutes, that's how you need to get set up on LinkedIn, okay, to use it and get the most mileage out of LinkedIn. Now I want to talk a little bit about a couple of the killer apps, the killer features on LinkedIn that I think you should be using, because it's not just about waiting to be found, right? If you don't just want to do that, you don't just want to be passive in your job search. I mean, that is part of it. You want to be in a place where you can be found for opportunities, but you also want to go for it, right? This is like, it's again, you think about this as like you're the best salesperson in the world, the best marketer in the world. They're not just waiting for stuff to come for them, to them. They're figuring out like, I want to work in this industry. I want to work in these types of organizations. I'm going to see who I know at these organizations. And I'm going to build a relationship and keep in touch. So when they have an opening, they think of me before they even put up the posting. And I'll be able to jump the line that way. That's tapping into the hidden job market. I have a whole bunch of blog posts on this subject. You can go through my blog and look for them about the hidden job market. But LinkedIn can really help you tap into that job market, okay? First, by just finding the right people to connect to, you know? So I want to talk about this advanced people search thing. So the way you get to that is, let's just do a hypothetical example, okay? Say you want to be a marketing director at Pfizer. You know, given that Pfizer's so in the news now, you know, the vaccine and all that stuff, right? You want to be a marketing director at Pfizer. And you're like, gee, I wonder if I know anybody at Pfizer, or I know some people who could introduce me to somebody at Pfizer so I can keep in touch. Or even if I don't know anybody, who would be in a position maybe to hire me that I could reach out to? That's the spirit of this hidden job market, right? How do you figure that out? Well, first you click in any search box at the top of LinkedIn. You click in here, you press enter. All I want you to do is don't type anything in, press enter, and then you're going to get all these menu options here. So you get all these other menu options, right? Now what I want you to do is click on companies, okay? Then type in Pfizer to search for the company you're interested in, right? Oh, there it is. It looks like this is the right one. There are a bunch of Pfizers, so you got to make sure it's the right one. This one looks right, 4.1 million followers. Let's click on that. Okay. Now what you want to do is you want to click on, See, he's got 115,000 employees. If you hover over it, it highlights that and click on it. Okay. Now what you can do, you got 115,000 results, right? You're not going to go through all these to find the right people. What you do is you go on to all filters and narrow down these results. You can narrow it down by strength of connection, by location, you can see the company names are already all checked off because you went through the company page. So it's already automatically checked off for you. You can search by where they used to work. So maybe you're already at Pfizer and you're like, gee, I want to leave Pfizer. I wonder where people went to who used to work at Pfizer. Well, click in past company Pfizer, and then you can see where they went to. And maybe you might even say then, hey, I see you were at Pfizer, and now you're at Novartis. I'm still at Pfizer. How are things at Novartis? It's an open icebreaker. Okay, just right. What school they went to, the industry. If you were focused just on Pfizer, but if you were doing a broader search, you might check off pharmaceuticals, right? All that, right? Now here's a great field, this job title field. So I want to go back to the slides. You should use this job title field, okay? You can do Boolean searches using ands, ors, nots, quotes, parentheses to get very targeted results, like in this title field and other fields like this on LinkedIn. So in this example, let's look at this second bullet, right? The example here is like, remember, we want to find people in a position to hire you at Pfizer that you could reach out to or you can get introduced to. So here's an example of a search you might do, marketing and. So that's in their job title, they'll probably have the word marketing, and then they'll probably have some senior sounding word like the function, the level. So senior or VP or executive or chief, like chief marketing officer, right? And not senior manager in quotes because you're searching for the phrase here, and senior manager is too junior. Now notice there are only 6 terms here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can only have 6 in a search. So sometimes you have to do multiple searches, okay? But if we did this, if we typed in, marketing, right? And, I don't even remember what I wrote, but I'm just going to, senior or, VP or chief or, vice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then, not, senior manager, right? Now notice the nots and the ors and the ands all have to be capitalized. Otherwise, you'll be searching for not, or, and and. So make sure you capitalize those connectors. I press, and I'm going to say show results. Let's see what comes up. I have no idea. Every time I do this, it's different, All right, 279 results. Still a lot of people to go through. But you can narrow it down further. But you can see like some like vice president marketing at Pfizer, right? Vice president Pfizer, global marketing. And I'm finding the right people. If you want to narrow it down further, go back to all filters, maybe click just first and second degree connections. Let's see what comes up now. And all right, only 6 results. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, but now because I have a quality network, I don't know Debbie, but I know Daniel and I know Evelina and I know Robert Baker and I know Rudy Stern. They can introduce me, or I can ask them if they would, or what they think of these people. If you don't have a quality network, this will be useless to you, these second degree connections. I want to be able to help you. All right. So one more thing I want to show you, then I want to take your questions. Okay. So I want to show you about this for a LinkedIn alumni thing. Okay. And which is very useful, especially, this is all a PACE presentation here. So what you do, let's go back to home. And again, I'm going to press in the search box and just press enter, right? I'm not even doing anything else, just pressing enter in the search box. Now, instead of clicking companies like we did before, I'm going to click schools. And you can search schools, right? And I'm going to search PACE because you're all at PACE. That looks right, PACE University, right? You could do the Lubin School of Business. You could do multiple searches like this if you want, right? If you're in the School of Business, whatever. But let's just do PACE University for now. Now what I'm going to do is click under there. This is the school page, right? I'm going to click under alumni. Look what you can do. You can search for alumni. It segments your alumni based on where they live, where they work, what they do, what they studied, what they're skilled at, how you're connected, okay? And you can also, when they graduated, so if you want people who are a little bit more senior, don't do the end year 2021. Do it like 2010 or something, right? got 72,000 or 73,000 alumni. So maybe you want to type in, you look at where they work, and you might scroll down and you might say, this is the top 10, right? Oh, I really want to work at Morgan Stanley. 229 people work at Morgan Stanley. So now that 72,000 drops down to 229, okay? And I don't want people who just graduated, so I'm going to put 2010, right? Now it's going to drop down even further. Oh, 145. And let's see what they do. And I really want to work in information technology at Morgan Stanley. 14 people. Click on that. These are the 14 right here. Okay? So so what I would recommend you do is take a combination of your alumni directory at Pace and LinkedIn, because the alumni directory is going to be completely comprehensive. Everyone will be in there, but it may not be as updated. LinkedIn won't be as comprehensive, but it's more updated in terms of what people are doing. So you might want to do both. Okay? So it's something else you should do. Now, I would suggest you reach out to people by email first, because you're going to get a higher response. It's as simple as that. Try to find their email address, do the hard work. Don't send them a request to connect message like a lot of people do, because it's only 300 characters to make a great first impression. You just can't do it in request to connect. So don't do that. Here's an example of an email you can send. You'll get, when you get the slide, you'll have this. This is the kind of email, you know, somebody saw someone on LinkedIn, didn't even know them, reached out to them with a message like this, and they got a meeting, which led to an interview and ultimately an offer. Okay? So you can look through this on your own. We don't have time to go through it now. We talked about keeping in touch through the homepage feed, so you want to make sure you do that. And that's it. So let me take your questions. This is the link again to get the slides, bit.ly/pace51121. What questions do you have for me?
Thank you, Rob. Akshay, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. As you said, like putting actively looking for opportunities, like full-time opportunities, might convey a negative message to recruiters. So is it fine to put it in the above section rather than in headline or something?
That you're looking for opportunities in the
Yeah,
about section? Is that what your question is? Putting that?
Yeah.
No, don't do it. You don't need to do it. It's not going to help you. You're thinking I got to put it in because recruiters will contact me, right? That's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're less likely to contact you if you put that in there, or the wrong ones, the bad ones are going to contact you. They're more likely to contact you if you don't put that in there. Now, if you want to get a bunch of unethical search firms reaching out to you, then put that in there. You don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Read my article about this. I posted that article, right? Read my article about this in my blog post, so we don't have the time for me to go through it at length, okay? And you'll get more information about it.
This is an interesting one from Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Does the federal government also use LinkedIn to look for employees?
Does the federal, everybody does it. Everyone does. What I mean by the federal government, I mean like you are in the federal government and you have a position, you're like, gee, I need somebody here. I now have an open slot. Who do I know? You're going to look and you're going to say, oh, I'm going to encourage, they still have to apply, but you'll reach out to that person and say, listen, if you're interested, I have an open slot, go through the formal application process. I'm encouraging you to do that. Absolutely. They do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Marilyn, oh, this is the last question. How you locate someone's email in LinkedIn? And I guess you didn't, right?
You can't find an email on LinkedIn unless you're first degree connections with them. You cannot find their email address. Okay. If you want to find emails, I'll give you an idea how to do it. By the way, if you're a first degree connection with them, you can find their email address. Just go to their profile and look at their contact information. There's a little button for it. But I want to go to my website and I'll show you how to do this. Hold on. Go to resources on my website. See, I'm on my website, hellmanconsulting.com. Click resources. Then click utilities for career management all the way down here. Do you see that? Utilities for career management. These first 6 links can help you to find email addresses. Just look at those links. Okay? So you can find those email addresses.
How cool is
Okay.
that? Thank you.
Uh,
That's the real secret right there.
secret. That's a big
Yep.
secret. It's was worth the whole thing just for that. So anyway, Rob, I want to thank you again. This was, every time I listen to your presentations, I learn things, and I'm sure that I want to thank everybody for joining us. And you know, I hope you'll attend next month on networking. But just to know that you know, Rob has his own private consulting company. He does everything, you know, general job search, but specializes in LinkedIn. So if you need additional help, I'm just plugging him because he deserves it. And I don't read a lot of people's blogs. You can take up your whole life doing that, but his are very worthwhile, particularly if you're in a job search. So I encourage you to look at his website and read his blog posts.
Thanks.
Thank you,
again, Rob.
Marilyn. Just to conclude, I remind that you can find our past webinars at our website, alumni.base.edu, and visit to find what we have prepared for the future. Thank you for participating. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.